before we get to the reason it's the best part of my week, yesterday we played this. Came from, I don't know, College Football Live, maybe on ESPN. This is Paul Finebaum waxing poetic about Dabo Swinney.
Yeah, I agree with everything Cam said. The problem with Dabo Swinney is this is a continuum. What happened last year when he had a pretty average season but managed to sneak into the playoffs by beating SMU on the final play of the game in the ACC championship was the outlier. The trend lines have been there, Amina, that he has really lost control of the program. Many people thought he had it back. A lot of people picked Clemson to win the title. He had Klubnik, who was thought to be maybe the number one draft choice. They lost that LSU game. It's been straight downhill ever since. And I believe Dabo Swinney has gone to the well one too many times trying to convince his fan base, hey, we played for 4 national championships. I have 2. I can still do it again. There's nobody that believes Dabo Swinney is ever going to win a national championship again at Clemson. This was his last shot. I frankly think it's time for him to go. I'm not suggesting they fire him, but he needs to find an exit strategy because, Dabo, your time is up. You are not going to turn it around, and quit trying to sell the people of that great university a bill of goods.
Hot takes. So many hot takes. And now it is time to bring in my friend Chip Patterson, Cover 3 podcast moderator, CBSSports.com. I wanted to begin there, so I wanted for everybody to hear that. I talked about it yesterday. Frankly, I think nobody thinking
does
that
radio better than Paul Finebaum. This is where, like, with that. First of all, that was my first time hearing it.
Okay.
Second of all, I do think it speaks to the state of Clemson's season, but also everything else that is good about college football right now, that Clemson lost at home in Death Valley, and it was not a top 14 result when we were trying to go through the most interesting and impactful results for the entire country, when we're going through Saturday's instant reaction show, Mondays upon further review. We're not intentionally overlooking it. Honestly, the SMU now being a thorn in the side of the ACC title race, which, we could get to a little bit, is maybe even resonating a little bit more. But if you want to know, if you just woke up yesterday, or if you weren't sure, Paul Finebaum is a radio legend.
Yeah.
And it's because you can package together in a rant so many of those strong opinions built together in such an emphatic way. I mean, that is a Hall of Famer of the industry, very much in his bag. And if you want like a response, number one, aside from acknowledging the greatness of the art form, you're punching down, Paul. Again, not a top 12 result on my radar.
Yeah,
you're going out of your way to punch down at a time. I mean, they did not even have their starting quarterback. And if you want to criticize the evaluation process for Cade Klubnik not living up to 5-star potential, or the fact that you don't have a backup quarterback that is of power conference caliber, sure. But I don't understand why now is the time that you're going to come in and declare the dynasty dead and declare time for the Clemson Tigers to move on. I find it a little bit misplaced.
Well, yeah, no, look, it's because it's Dabo. And it's the same reason why college football shows we'll still talk about Bill Belichick and Carolina, because it's Bill. And Dabo is a celebrity of the sport. And as some celebrities are leaving the sport, Nick Saban is no longer coaching. We don't have as many celebrities. We still have some, obviously, but we don't have as many celebrities. But I don't believe that what Finebaum said is 100% accurate. I think there are probably a lot of people who think Dabo can get it together. I think they've married themselves. They did not marry themselves to DJ Uiagalelei. Right? They married themselves to Cade Klubnik. And Klubnik proved to be just, I don't even know. I mean, he's certainly not a great college quarterback. And I do think that, and I said this in using this example in a different way, in a different context. We talked about not knowing about what North Carolina was based on wins over Charlotte and Richmond. And I said this last week, I'm not sure what to make of Clemson's win over Carolina, because it was too easy for their offense. So I wasn't sure we learned anything. And then you can give some credit to SMU, who, as we sit here today, Chip Patterson, has never lost an ACC regular season game. Ever.
Do you know how many times the North Carolina Tar Heels have won 11 ACC regular season games in a row?
11 ACC, 0.
Twice.
Oh, okay, good. At least it's twice.
Once under Curry, once under Dooley. Okay? Do you know how many times NC State, and by the way, shout out, point to the passer to Joe Giglio on this one. He's the one who brought it to my attention.
Nice.
Do you know how many times NC State has won 11 ACC regular season games in a row?
Once.
Yeah, in the 70s.
Yeah.
And SMU just did it with their first 11 games.
Hey, look, they're a good football team. I don't think they're a great football team. I didn't think they were a great football team last year, but I think they're a good football team. And the schedule, like who you play matters. That's just common sense, right? If you don't play the hardest schedule in the world, which is why
not in the ACC. No, because every schedule could be an easy schedule, and if a schedule is hard, you have made it hard by your own doing.
No, but
that is life in the Atlantic Coast Conference. If you are everyone said missing Miami and Florida State were going to be the ways that you have an easy schedule. Well, if you miss Florida State, you miss an easy win,
right?
Because odds are, if they only win one out of every 12 ACC games they play, the odds are good that you're going to be able to go and get a victory. So there are no easy schedules. If a schedule is hard, it's your fault for making it hard.
Agreed. So, but I'm going to ask you this.
ACC privilege. You can only screw it up. You're born on third base. You're born with 8 wins.
I'm going to ask you this question: Miami losing at home to Louisville.
Yeah.
Did it in some ways maybe could they backdoor a third team into the playoff? And let me ask it this way. Virginia and Georgia Tech do not play each other.
Correct.
Virginia has one loss to NC State. I think they're better than everybody else on their schedule.
But
I'm not saying they're going to win them all. I'm just saying
they needed a safety to beat Washington State when Washington State was playing its second power conference road game in a row.
Put a pin in that. We're going to get back to that.
Tony Elliott took a page out of Dabo's book and did a 40-minute talk to the locker room. He made all the Virginia media wait like this was Dabo Swinney in 2016. Well, that man ripped into his squad because he knows that if they were playing anybody, they would have lost on that day.
Put a pin in that. We're going to go back to that particular play that you have referenced. It does not change the fact that they are probably better than everybody else they play. I forgot they do play at Duke, and that will be a problem. Playing there is a problem for anybody.
Including Duke.
Well, that is true. But I think they were every bit as good, maybe better, apart from the turnovers, than Georgia Tech. Same thing I said about the game against Illinois. Georgia Tech, what's left for them? The most difficult game for them, other than the Georgia game at the end, and I'm talking about going through the conference. We could have an 8-0 Georgia Tech and an 8-0 Virginia playing each other in Charlotte, with Miami not having to play that weekend. If Miami doesn't lose and Miami doesn't have, maybe at SMU, at Pitt's a thorn in everybody's side when you least expect it. And if it is Mario Cristobal, so we should probably assume they're going to lose a game, one more game. Mm-hmm. But it's possible this works out in such a way where we've got 11-1 Miami, the winner of the ACC championship game, and depending on what happens, we could have 3 teams in, even though I don't believe for a second that there are 3 teams good enough to be in the playoff.
Yeah, I don't think so. It's still a human selection committee. Right. They're going to look at exactly what you said. And they said, I just don't believe that these are playoff teams. You are going to get treated like teams from other conferences who have a ton of wins and don't make the college football playoff.
I think we're going to have three loss SEC teams in. I want to go back to that Virginia thing. Because this is not about the ACC.
One last thing on Miami, because I'll tell you why it's not. This is not some galaxy brain. They've actually made life easier for themselves because they just broke the floodgates on the Carson Beck interceptions. That last year, These are successive games. 2 interceptions, 3 interceptions, 3 interceptions, all game after game after game. When it breaks bad. And now you've sort of unlocked the demons. He's blaming his tight end. Like it's it's not great.
Which means they'll probably lose at SMU, maybe at Virginia Tech and at Pitt. And we won't have to worry about Miami in the college football playoff. Chip Patterson is joining us here. All right, and back to that Virginia win over Washington State. They trailed by 10 points entering the fourth quarter. Amazing. Why is it that when you know that you are going to run the ball and you need to get the ball completely out of the end zone, why are you in the shotgun and handing the ball to your running back 3 yards deep in the end zone? Why? Why do all college football teams do this?
I don't know why all college football teams do this. I do think that in this case, Washington State was outmanned at the line of scrimmage, and they're just trying to create enough distance and potential misdirection to hope that they're going to be able to hit the lane. And a guy got beat. Yeah. Virginia made a play.
Put your quarterback under center, take the snap, and push forward. That's all you have to do. I don't know what they're doing, but that's college. It's really college football. We have quarterbacks that come into the NFL that have never taken a snap under center.
Right.
We have quarterbacks coming to the NFL, never called a play. Ever. Remember Bryce Petty at Baylor back in the day? The Jets drafted him in the 5th round. I remember reading an interview with him about, offense and whatnot. He goes, well, I've never called a play before. And the reporters were like, what? And he goes, yeah, we didn't have to call plays at Baylor. They just told us where to throw it. There you go. He at least
had to make a read, all right? As somebody who studied the Baylor offense, they told him what side of the field to go to, but he at least had to make a high-low read, okay? You've got one low and you've got one high.
Yes.
He has to just read the safety and figure out whether we're going low or high.
My gosh, it's amazing. All right, Chip Patterson, Billy Napier, they finally got him up out of Florida. Is he a product? Why did it go badly? He was so successful coming to Florida. He won a ton of games. Where was he at? Louisiana? Louisiana Monroe, right? Lafayette. So he was so successful there. They recruit well at Florida. Why did it not go well?
I think that it is better to, first of all, Billy Napier has the 4th worst winning percentage.
It's terrible.
In Florida head coaching history with like a minimum of 20 games coached, I believe. I think it works better as chapter 4 of the 4 failed head coaching tenures post Urban Meyer. Here's the way it goes. Will Muschamp didn't have an offense.
Right.
Great defensive coach, but I mean, we're trotting Jeff Driscoll out there. We're stumbling over our feet. We just can't, just no offense whatsoever. Okay. So now we're going to try and we're going to bend the other way. We're going to go get Jim McElwain, former Alabama offensive coordinator who came over after being the head coach at Colorado State for a minute. And Jim McElwain just did not get Gainesville. He did not get the University of Florida. He made the SEC championship game twice. So in a sense, you could say like, hey, that was a pretty successful tenure. His win-loss record wasn't bad, but man, he did not like the chemistry was not there. He did not get Florida. So then we go to somebody who's a former Florida assistant who'd had success in the SEC. We go get Dan Mullen. But here's the problem. Dan Mullen didn't want to recruit, or at least not recruit the way that Florida wants, because Dan Mullen thought he could just get Mississippi State rosters and put blue and orange on them. And look, even Dan Mullen, like Jim McElwain, made the SEC title game, but some of these recruiting failures had him packing. So they overcompensate again. Remember, no offense, so go get the offensive guy. Oh, this guy doesn't get Florida. Go get a former Florida Urban Meyer assistant. Oh, he doesn't recruit. All right, now let's go get the recruiter. And do you know what the recruiter couldn't do, Adam? He couldn't coach. He was the play caller, and he was not a good play caller at the SEC level. He wouldn't give up the play calling duties. He wasn't doing a good job of game management. He was not doing a good job of preparation. Some of the procedural stuff, I mean, it was just absolutely mind-numbing. that roster that Florida fielded this season, I will say, because, with this being an unprecedented statewide platform, I'm sure that the University of Florida does have alums that are in the listening area. I understand there were injuries, including the notable one to your future NFL receiver, Dallas Wilson.
Mm-hmm.
But I will say that team underperformed its talent. Its preseason top 20 ranking was under the idea that this very talented roster with players on the offensive and defensive line that are showing up in Ryan Wilson's mock drafts, that they had talent.
Yeah.
And Billy Napier they got off to a 1-3 start. And the only win was against FCS Long Island,
and
the Sharks.
At the end of last year also kind of led us to thinking that it would be good this year. Remember? They got off to a terrible, right.
LSU.
All right. You brought up Ole Miss, Chip Patterson.
That's chapter 4. It's chapter 4 of the failed tenures of Florida head coaching searches. They always overcompensate for the failures of the previous regime, but then they always have something that's missing. How
do they overcompensate this time? Do they lure Lane Kiffin out of Oxford, Mississippi? It was interesting. I haven't watched the entire doc yet that aired on ESPN. Ryan McGee did it. It's dynamite. Just the clips I have seen are dynamite anyway, where he seems to have like an emotional family tie in some ways to Oxford, Mississippi, connected with his daughter and whatnot. Does he leave? I think he wants stability, but I think it would be difficult to stay at Ole Miss if Florida is begging. Or what if LSU moves on from Brian Kelly?
First of all, Ryan McGee's story about Monty stopping practice to yell at Lane, who's calling pass interference during touch football, the story he told to you,
yeah,
like in the lead up, is unbelievable stuff. It is worth noting Lane Kiffin is going to get a huge contract one way or the other.
Right.
Whether it is a true bidding war or a game of poker with a predetermined ending, I don't know. I think there's something for Lane Kiffin where, you mentioned there's also some Tampa family history.
Yeah. Big time. Big time.
There's also some other reasons and connections that could draw him back to looking at that opportunity.
Right.
I think Florida is a better path to a national championship than Ole Miss.
That was my question. Can you win a chip at Ole Miss?
They haven't even played for an SEC title.
Right.
I mean, they've won SEC championships, but not since the title game was started in 92. Yeah, I think it will come down to whether Lane wants to continue to run Oxford or whether Lane wants to get a few more advantages. And those advantages start with high school recruiting, but they don't stop there. They continue all the way up to what you're really able to access and tap into. I think Florida's a better job than Ole Miss.
Oh, yeah.
But would he take a lifetime contract to just go be king of Oxford, Mississippi for as long as he wants? Maybe.
And
we'll see.
There's another part of that conversation, and we don't have that much time, so I'm just going to bring it up, be as brief as you want, because if you go to Florida, you are going there, not just your own expectations, their expectations are you are going there to win a title.
Right.
To do what Urban Meyer did twice, to do what Steve Spurrier did. That's why you are going there. And anything short of that is failure. If you stay at Oxford, can you create a situation in Oxford at Ole Miss where what they are this year is what they are for the most part, most years, make a bunch of playoff appearances, maybe advance, maybe get to a Final Four, who knows, right? Can you do that at Ole Miss? And would that be cool? Because if you're looking for stability, that might be the better move.
We'll see.
Great answer. Like we don't know. We don't know what level
these are all personal motivations.
Yeah, absolutely.
Truthfully, Florida is looking for the spiritual successor to Steve Spurrier, and the spiritual successor to Steve Spurrier is Lane Kiffin. He talks smack. He wears a visor. He runs the score up. He gets butts in seats. And like, I think that the Lane Kiffin to Florida thing is one of it's an Occam's razor. Like if we end up there, I'm like, all right, cool. This is where I thought. I mean, Adam, this is where I thought we might end up a year ago.
Right.
When Scott Strickland did his own vote of confidence dance, for Billy Napier. So I think I think that if Lane wants it, I would imagine that it's there for him.
All right. How's it going to end at Florida State? I know they gave Mike Norvell a vote of confidence. We'll evaluate at the end of the season. I don't know what there is to evaluate. They have the wheels have come off now 2 years in a row. The high school recruiting hasn't been great, right, at Florida State?
Right.
They have portaled their way really to 3 straight seasons, and we see what happens. So what's the end game there?
I have been mildly public about some of my academic struggles at the University of North Carolina. It was always a fight for eligibility, but dadgummit, we made it out.
Right.
Okay. Class of 2009. Don't ask what month 2009, but it was the class of 2009. Right.
August. Right. I'm in the same class. It's good.
Listen, we took record numbers. We took record numbers of summer school classes after walking in our cap and gown. I had a class where my final grade, and this was earlier in my tenure during the dark times, it was probably predetermined, how this thing was going to end. But I just kept going, and I kept taking these tests, and I figured out that if I made if I made a 98 on the final or whatever, maybe this might turn out okay. But it was predetermined.
Right.
And I think the same setup is here for Mike Norvell. All right, Mike, you win every game left on the schedule, right? You go win every single game, and the team buys in, and y'all turn this thing around during the off week. Then, yeah, maybe, Mike, we can talk about this. But much like me, at the end of the semester, it was probably predetermined.
Yeah,
and we were right where you could have guessed, right there in October. So there are a couple reasons. I actually wrote on CBSSports.com the pros and cons of the decision to release this statement. And one of the things that's important to point out is that 1 month ago, okay?
Sure.
Just 1 month ago in our calendar, Florida State was number 7 in the country. They were 3-0. They had a win against Alabama. There is no one around that community that was anywhere prepared to gather up $55 million to buy out one coaching staff and another $50 million and change to go hire a new one capable of reaching the standard that you are admitting has not been met over the last month in Mike Norvell. I mean, this is didn't know that bill was going to come due now vote of confidence.
Yeah.
Not that they don't necessarily have the money, but that they really didn't have everything pulled together to be able to engage in a new financial future just quite yet. This season has slipped so far, so fast, that I think everybody around Tallahassee was a little bit caught off guard by it.
The manner in which they beat Florida opening weekend has set
Alabama.
That's what did I say? Florida. Yeah, well, maybe they'll beat Florida that way. Probably not. The manner in which they beat Alabama opening weekend set everybody up for this. Everybody. And I understand the mindset of the Florida State Seminole fan base and the board, because even though they're sort of nouveau riche in college football, because that program really was a Bobby Bowden creation, in the late 70s on. But for a decade and a half, they ran the sport. For a decade and a half. They had some troubles with Miami, and they didn't win enough national championships, but they ran it. And they're. I don't know if we're ever going to get back to it, but Jimbo Fisher
Adam,
was good. He was good there for a hot minute. So
they just finished their stadium renovation.
Right.
Big project. It looks great. And they beat Alabama, like in like the fully, like this is incredible. What a great moment. Adam, this week was supposed to be ribbon cutting, break the champagne glass on a brand new palatial football only facility.
Uh-oh.
I mean, they're still moving in, but that was another factor here. Like we're the band is right there. The marching band is getting set up so that we can. Is Mike Norvell even going to unpack these boxes?
No.
I mean, it's just the timing and the optics of all of it, I think, made it very difficult to make a move on Mike Norvell right now. So he's going to coach. And look, the other thing about that is just because you release a statement does mean that you can't fire him in 3 weeks.
They're going to. Whenever they fire him, they're going to fire him. Final question for you, Chip Patterson. Which job is better, Florida or Florida State?
Florida.
More money? Is it for money purposes, or is that a recruiting thing?
It's
easier to win at Florida State right now.
I don't know.
Oh, come on.
What?
You got to run. I mean, look, I could just show you the remaining schedules in the SEC and the remaining schedules in the ACC. It's easier to put your name in the playoff if you're at Florida State than if you're at Florida.
Florida State has not shown me that.
Well, yeah, this Florida State team hasn't shown you that. But if you are really good, then you can it's easier. The easier path is in the ACC.
Florida State since 2014. So let's say the college football playoff era, last 11 years of Florida State football. You cannot tell me life in the ACC is better.
No. That's on them. As you said earlier, it's an own goal. If you can't make that schedule easy, it's an own goal. That will be the case for Georgia Tech. That will be the case for Virginia. It has been the case for Clemson. But it's undeniable that the lesser competition, until further notice, is in the ACC. It's just like the gauntlets that these teams are going to have to run to only have 1 or 2 losses in the SEC are like, if Oklahoma ends the season and they've only got 2 losses, I'll be stunned. As good as they might be, their schedule left is just Mississippi at Tennessee, at Alabama, Missouri, LSU. Those 2 games look a little bit easier right now, but still, it is going to be very difficult. That is Chip Patterson.
If Kirby Smart is at Georgia, do you think Peter Boulware leaves Columbia, South Carolina, and comes down to Tallahassee?
Probably not. I don't know, maybe.
Is the high school recruiting failure?
That was a pretty great era of Florida State, though.
I'm just saying, I'm talking just like geography and who else is in the mix. Are the high school recruiting failures of Florida State tied to their head coaches who they've had, which I think is
or to the competition?
We'll tell you. Or is it just what the landscape is? Because Florida has fielded more talented rosters than Florida State the last couple of years.
All right, so you're saying it's a recruiting thing, that you recruit, that's a better place to recruit.
I think so.
If that's the case, then yeah, that's a better job. Although much more difficult to win. Chip Patterson, you are my friend. I appreciate your time always, sir.
Sounds good. Y'all be well.